Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome to Boss Leap. I'm Dr. Sylvia Morris, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Angela C.B. Walker. And today we talk with Nina Babel, photographer, travel photographer, creative, and artist.
Yes.
We're going to talk about travel and why we travel. So, Angela, why do you travel?
I would have to answer that it feeds my soul. There's something about getting on an airplane, getting on a car, just driving or flying off that
A good road trip?
Good road trip, just getting up in the air on a plane and seeing the clouds. I mean, it just gives me a sense of freedom. I've loved to travel since I was, a young girl, and we didn't do a lot of it, when I was young. I remember road trips with my mom in the summer. She was a teacher, and we would travel from Texas to Pennsylvania, where my grandmother...
What was your favorite thing about the road trip?
Oh, I loved driving through, I think, and this is bad, like the Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
And you could see all the little small towns off the side of the road. And I remember just fantasizing about what life was like in, some other part of, the country. I guess I enjoyed being with my mom. And I mean, now that I reflect, I did, but
most
now
certainly you enjoyed being with your mom.
I did, but I'm trying to remember like what was so magical about it. But obviously, I was the passenger, so I didn't have to, do
in
any
the
of
big back seat, laid out, maybe not a seat belt.
Yeah, right. I don't even remember, right? But no, I think it just gives me. I love seeing other places, and for me, it just equates to freedom. I would love for Boss Leap, for our podcast, to kind of travel to different places and give different
Preferably
perspectives.
A beach.
Yes, anything warm with water, that would be one, and sunshine, and shed light on what the life is like somewhere else. What about you?
Absolutely.
What does it mean to you?
I love travel. When you talk about road trips, I remember being with my mom, and we would drive up the Pacific Coast Highway, Highway 1, from Los Angeles, like up to Monterey, and you see the Pacific on the left and the huge mountains, and we would stop because I'm all about the food. So whether, you stop at like a little farm stand and get some cherries, or you stop and you have an ice cream, I was there for it all. And even some of our girls' trips, we've had spent some time in the car. And I remember us go in Puerto Rico when we drove to have the lechon.
Yes.
Which is like this roasted pig, sorry for our vegan and vegetarian friends, on a spit, and the pig is suckling, and it's just yummy.
You didn't go further then we drove into the jungle where we had no clue where we were and no communication with anyone.
That wasn't my idea.
But what wandered through the jungle and saw this beautiful waterfall, and so
we did.
Yeah, those are good times. Yeah,
very
beautiful. Well, I love your experiences. I have to throw in my initial Route 1, or what is it, Highway 1. Carl and I, we were in Sonoma, and so we drove over to the highway, and we're driving down towards San Francisco. And we drove through the redwoods. It was so beautiful. Once we got to the highway, the fog rolled in.
Oh, the fog is no joke. By 4:00, you need to be off the road because you could just easily drive off the road.
There are no guards.
No,
on
there
the
are no
road,
guardrails. Oh, no,
and
there's
I'm
no guardrails.
closest to the edge.
Yeah.
So my first experience was not, but then it cleared up, and then it was just kind of magical. But it was a white knuckle experience for a good 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this again. But yeah, that sounds beautiful and great memories. So.
Definitely. Well, we welcome Nina Babel.
Yes,
Travel photographer will be the next sound that you hear.
yes, can't wait.
Welcome back to Boss Leap. Today we have Nina Babel, a photographer, artist, creative. We're just going to start our conversation. So Nina, welcome to Boss Leap.
Thanks for having me, Angela and Sylvia. And it's good to see you again.
Yes.
Last year when we met, it was a different scenario. I was shooting you guys for the cover of Georgetown Health magazine, their
Yes.
spring or winter edition. I can't remember, but nevertheless, I love how that came out.
It was
And-
beautiful.
That's just an amazing experience. And that,
Yeah.
once in a lifetime is very beautiful.
Yeah, I was proud of that one. And I'm just happy to be back in a different, sphere.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get right into this, but just kind of preface, so proud of you. I remember speaking to you about how your whole kind of career, your trajectory, it just feels like it's blown up even since I've met you. But you are definitely a boss leap woman, and so we want our audience to know all about you. So we're just going to start with some of the basics that we like to share with our audience, and kind of how you grew up. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Whoa.
When you were growing up?
When I was growing up, actually, I even have the handwritten note. I'm gonna send it to you, but
Perfect.
it won't. But you won't get it in time for the podcast launch. But I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And it's interesting because back then I wanted to be a dentist growing up. This was a little girl. And then I went from that to a fire woman. Don't know how that
Fighter.
came up. And then, but I think that creative juice started from young. My mom always kind of put us in creative, I guess, extracurricular activities. And then, so I think that gave me really the foundation. And not only that, we always went to museums. We always were in the library. So we were always feeding that creative soul, me and my brother. And I wanted to be an architect. That was the first mission.
Yeah.
And I was taking drafting in high school, and I always enjoyed art. So that was the other influence, is architectural magazine. My mom would get that delivered to the house, and I'd be like, wow, like amazing homes, da da da.
I know.
And then physics class. I never could get past physics class in high school, and I had the worst
not alone
teacher.
with that
You're
one.
not alone.
And I thought to myself, I can't take this in college. I cannot. My brain was never, my strong suit in high school was never math. So I was just afraid, okay, this is not going to work. Let me shift to interior design. And then my art teacher was like, well, by the time you grow up, computers are going to be doing everything. And I got nervous because I just was like, what? I'm not going to have any artistic input. And so, unbeknownst to my dad, all this creative stuff I was doing my whole life. At this point, I was probably 17, 18 and about to graduate. And I said to him, oh, I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to be a makeup artist. And he was like, absolutely not. You are going to school to study business and or industrial engineering, which I had no idea what that was at the time. And I was like, so really that was from that point to 4 years ago, I felt like I was a round square peg in a round hole. Just existing career-wise, even though I did want to have a career in corporate and stuff, but that's not the route I wanted. Even when I was in college and I was taking classes and stuff, I struggled. I really did. Even though I was taking business, I really didn't feel like that was where I was supposed to be. So I was just checking the boxes, really perfect from college till 4 years ago.
Wow.
And I ended up so I think after college, I remember my first interview. I didn't know I studied business administration. I kept it general. And I interviewed for a project manager position and with NCR, who at the time was big with ATMs and cash registers. That's what they're known for. It's
Mm.
everywhere.
Mhm.
And I stalked the guy that interviewed me. I mean, I was young and hungry, and he ended up giving me the job. But all it was a waiting game. He said, "Okay, we're making decisions in 2, 3 weeks." And he says, I think he said he was going to hire me. So I kept calling him, "Okay, are you ready to hire me? Are you ready to hire me?" Like,
Mhm.
I don't have those balls today. I wish, I had those balls like I did when I was younger. And I was calling him and I got the job. And that whole career was, I think, the foundation. And that's just a lesson to show that, everything in its due time. It wasn't wasted time. And I used to
Yes.
label it that way. But I
Mm.
think it gave me the foundation in terms of business, social skills, hard skills, like how to put a presentation together, just
Mhm.
that corporate speak and knowledge that I use today as an entrepreneur, which a lot of creatives do lack because they're
Mhm.
creatives or they're introverted.
Interesting.
So I
Yeah.
was in IT for a long time, and I struggled too because I'm not technical. I didn't have that background. A lot of it I had to learn on the fly or just from project to project, or I had a team that always just kind of shepherded me along the way. And then, I'll say this, and I always credit one of my good friends, probably about at least 8 years ago. She was like, and this is somebody she was actually my hairstylist.
Mhm.
So I didn't grow up with her, but we had that relationship.
They're the best
And
That's a
counselors.
really intimate
yes.
relationship with hairstylists. Yes.
Yes. And she told me at the time in the chair, she goes, "You're wasting your life."
Mm.
And I just looked at her like, "What do you mean?" Because
Mhm.
you don't know me like that.
Mm.
Mhm.
And she said, "The little bit that I've seen of what you post on Instagram with your pictures,
Mm.
even just from your iPhone," she's like, "I feel like that's where you
Mm.
should be focusing." And I looked at her like, because she didn't know. I picked up a camera at 13 years old.
Mm.
My mom always had a camera in her hand, and just through osmosis, I just figured, well, let me do that too.
Mhm.
And so I'm completely self-taught, never had any kind of college
Uh-huh.
What were some of your
course.
early photographs of? What did you photograph when you were in your teens?
A lot of it was either travel, my
Mhm.
friends. I actually threw out a garbage bag of film photographs, like people that I don't even talk to or seen, but literally a garbage bag of photos I had taken. And I kept some, but it was all film. And you roll the camera back in the day,
Yeah.
whether it was or a
35
Polaroid.
millimeter film,
Yes,
yes, and you
yes,
drop it in and yeah.
yes, yes. And but mostly people. It was
Mm.
mostly people, like
People.
friends and like what we were doing, whether it was a get together, a partying, a birthday. So, but when I traveled for work, the same job that I referred to earlier, my first job with NCR, my boss told me at the time, he's like, "You're going to Europe." You're going to Europe for a month.
Mm.
And at that point, and that had to be 1998. And at that point, I picked up my camera and I
Mhm.
got reacquainted with it. And so I was taking a lot of like building pictures, scenery,
Mhm.
Italy, just places I've
Mhm.
never
Yes.
been. And I don't know, I always I don't know, it just came natural. Like, I don't know how to explain it, whether it was the lighting, whether I just see things and I
Mhm.
would just take pictures of it in anticipation of whatever the subject was or the background.
Yes.
And I would say so that reacquainted me with my camera again because I was told I could not be a creative in the
Mm.
household.
Mm.
And I laid it down for a little. No, I kept using it, but it was more a hobbyist.
Mhm.
And then I never really knew how to operate it intimately. And
Yes.
so that's where, so when my dad passed, and that was 2014, that's when I really, to help me with the grieving process, I was like, where there's death, there's birth. And it was the birth of my new career, my new life, my new beginnings, my moral compass. It was just,
Wow.
I found myself again. And it was through my photography, which helped me through the grieving process.
No, I'm curious how, because I'm hearing so much, and what a fascinating story, because I think, a lot of us have been through, and I can identify just with my own girls in terms of the creative, but being, told that they should do something that's more concrete and give them. But I think you were headed towards how you ended up, photography was always a hobby for you, but didn't actually have the intimate training in terms with your camera. So tell us how that came about.
So at that point, when I decided this is my new direction and it will be a side hustle, I reached out to two male photographers, one that had taken my pictures, and I said to him, I'm thinking about taking this further. Can I apprentice under you? He was like, oh, yeah, come anytime you want. And so I went to his studio and, he kind of just gave me, actually, let me back up one second. A friend of mine, it went to Howard and he's actually a filmmaker. He sat me down and he literally, I wish I brought my camera down. Oh, I have it right here, but he literally showed me the camera, opened up the sensor, and explained to me the different parts of the camera and how it works.
Wow.
No one had done that before. Not, mind you, the cameras I had before weren't, I didn't have lenses. It was just on just one,
All in one.
all in one. Yeah.
Sure.
So I never had to take off the lens and change it or see what the sensor was. So he explained to me just all the dials. And I had another individual where I worked in IT. I don't know, that was another angel. I was walking. He worked in the video department, the audio visual department of the bank.
The
And
AV guy?
yes. And
It's always
AV guy, and I don't know what it, so they had a camera set up, and I think they were about to do an interview, but he motioned me to come and he's like, this is the camera. I don't know if I told him what I was doing, but he was like, this is the camera you need to get. And you're going to sit down with me right now. And I was like, oh, I got to go to work. I'm late. And he's like, no, you're going to sit down with me right now. He sat down with me for 2 hours to show me the camera. And at that point, Sony was the pioneer of this mirrorless camera. And no other camera brands had this. So to him, he wanted me to make sure that whatever camera I buy, it's this one, especially if I'm going into the industry. He wanted to make sure that I was, you know, I call it you cry once because it's expensive. Just don't go the cheap route. Just cry once, get it over with. And he's like, this is the brand you need to get. And so, but he sat down and showed me how detailed the camera was, the output, showing me his work. And I never really saw him again, or I don't even remember his name to circle back with him. But again, he was an angel, another one. And then the two apprentices, the one guy in the studio was just throwing out buzzwords and asking me, like, do you know what this means? Or do you know? So that was helpful. But I would say after the second or third visit, we both agreed that he was like, you'll be fine. He just kept saying, you'll be fine. Just go out and start. Just go out and start.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't feel like I needed a lot of work.
But you had it, right?
Yeah. I think he saw what I had. And then the other one was kind of the same. He was like, you'll be fine. Just focus on portraits for now, like people, start there, and then figure out what you like, and you'll be fine. He said the same thing, you'll be fine. And then on the flip side, I had haters too, who were just like, oh, that's just so ghetto, that piece of work. That's just, yeah, I've had, and the sad thing is, it's from our people, some of them. And then the industry before George Floyd was more gated. a lot of gatekeepers, and but it was heavier on the gatekeeper side. And then after George Floyd, it kind of leveled out. And then it's kind of
The
back to
door
where it
opened, and is the
was.
door closing now?
No, I think when you're connected or you have relationships with the right people, they look out for you. But in certain sects, like the fashion industry would always be guarded. There's always people who will not tell you everything.
And is that in
Um,
terms of being, I mean, I'm trying to understand as a woman of color, or just
all
in
the
general,
above.
Mm.
There's a video. I don't know if I have it on this phone, but it's a well-known influencer.
Mhm.
And she was like, because I did something for Snapchat, and she was one of the speakers. She's Black too, but I have it on video. I just haven't posted it yet. But she was like, "Wait a minute." She goes, "I do these all the time, and I never see a Black female photographer." And she goes, "This is a big deal." And I said, "Yeah, I'm here."
Yeah.
Mhm.
You probably haven't seen me, but I said, "I'm here. I'm around." But that's and even when models see you, they're so happy, especially if they're models of color. They're like, "Oh my God, someone who knows how to light me, how to shoot me, knows my skin tone. It's not a guessing game." And
We
then,
were super excited to see you when Georgetown set this up because,
Yeah.
we didn't know how this was our first photo shoot. We wanted to make certain that we were going to look great.
Yeah.
And I immediately relaxed after we Googled you. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I understand. Yes.
yeah, so there is that relief. And then I was explaining to my girlfriend yesterday, I said, I've had some Black celebrities, male, and I think, who are just some really cheerleaders. Timberland is one example. And then I've
Mm.
had some others where they're just make life
Mhm.
difficult.
Yeah.
Misogyny is real.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But
So there's all kinds.
can we go back a little bit, and
Yeah.
what advice would you give your younger self?
Mm.
Okay, so going back to the makeup artist, number one,
Yes.
I remember so I grew up in Toronto, and MAC was founded in Toronto.
Mm.
I didn't know that.
Before
It's
before
Canadian?
L'Oreal, yeah, before L'Oreal bought them out, or whoever, I think L'Oreal bought them out, or
Huh.
whoever the next, or one of the big cosmetic companies bought them many years later. And then, so I remember in high school going to the counter, or maybe I applied to be an apprentice, like a makeup artist, and that was
Mhm.
going to be my part-time high school job. And when my dad told me, like, I have a habit of not listening to my parents, even though they say one thing, I would always do the other. And this was one where I obeyed, and I said, "Oh, I will not." So when he said no, I was like, "I'm going to go to Mac anyway and learn how to be a makeup artist and do
Mm.
this on the side."
Mm.
And I didn't. And I think about that all the time, especially
Mm.
now that I'm in the industry, because I could have there's a lot of makeup artist jobs that I see, and I'm like, "Oh, I could have been one of them." Or even as a photographer, like, I could have doubled up and done your makeup and
Mhm.
photograph you as well, like, but, so that's one. The other two is I didn't really research, like, I think when it comes to college, I didn't know about the whole like, I looked at the liberal arts area of college as always thought those people were weird, and I discounted them, but not really realizing I should have
But
minored in
you're a
photography,
creative, so why
Yes.
would you discount liberal arts?
because back then I got snotty about what my dad put in my head.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how you're led.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I belittled that. And
Mhm.
then I went into business, then I worked in corporate, so I never gave it that respect again.
Yeah.
Funny how things happen full circle.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wish I had studied film
Mm.
and
Mhm.
photography. I really wish that I had that exposure. I think
Mhm.
at the time growing up, I wasn't familiar with how to use that degree, but
Mhm.
now
Yeah.
there's so many avenues to take that, depending
But
on
you'd
where
be a
you want to
different
go.
person.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there would have been boxes that you perhaps would have been placed in because you had that additional kind of knowledge and your trajectory would be different.
Yeah. I mean, I always say I wish I coulda, woulda, shoulda, but I think for me, the makeup artist part really sticks more than the college
Got it.
choice,
Got it.
because even when I look at jobs or apply to jobs, I always see the makeup artist, and it just hits home, like, that was something I really wanted to do, and I used to practice on my friends. So, it does, and it's never too late, like, I
I
think
was
about it.
just about to interject, Nina, because you are definitely younger than we are and always already seeing, the trajectory of you following your passion, and kind of just living in your purpose right now. It's never too late. So I
Yeah.
would, and identifying those areas that you want, because you want to continue to grow and learn. So you are wildly successful right now as a photographer, but just continue to identify what you're passionate about, and don't close any doors. Don't shut the door before you're even able to turn the handle. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I think that's my only regret that, like, resonates with me.
So I've heard about the role, kind of your mom, introducing a lot of creative aspects with you growing up, and your dad, which is kind of, I think, a classic dad role of giving you that pragmatic, you've got to earn a living. I want to make sure that you're good when I'm not here, that sort of ideology. Can you tell us about who you feel are the important people in your life? I've heard about, you talked about the angels along the way, particularly with your leading you to photography. Anyone else that you feel played an important role in your life?
My boyfriend, he was telling me for years to
Mm.
abandon the corporate because he saw how disappointed, how frustrated I was, or just he felt that I was not enjoying what I was doing.
Mm.
And it was like, why live your life like that when you have this beautiful skill and gift that you're letting collect dust? Like, this is what you should be doing. Like, cut the cord, cut the cord. And that's that leap of faith, that faith over fear. You're programmed for so long and brainwashed. I look now that I'm on the outside and I watch people in corporate, I was like, "Oh, I was one of those." Like, oh, I just cringe because it's like I drank that Kool-Aid for so long. And, he was getting angry at me for not listening. And then COVID came, and like everybody else, everybody went through their own version of their correction. And mine was coming to terms with, like, not only did I when my dad passed, I decided to pursue photography. I was only doing it as a side hustle. So now I have to take it a step further. If I'm serious, I got to take. So during that time that I was working, I was buying equipment when I could afford it, because I knew there would be a point in time when, dropping $2,000 to $3,000 a pop would be challenging when I'm trying to earn a living. So I made sure I was stocking up in my last year of corporate life, on everything that I would need.
Mhm.
And thank God I had that foresight. And so he was very instrumental with pushing me forward. And to this day, always just being a bug in my ear,
Beautiful.
being real about being just 100% when I don't want to hear it sometimes.
You need
And
those people. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
To have those people in your life. Yeah.
yeah. So, and just that source of encouragement that I can do it,
Mhm.
and I'm qualified to do it. And then scenarios where he might break it down. Well, you didn't get it because you're black. And even though I might not want to hear it,
Yeah.
it is a reality sometimes, especially, living in Florida and being around men. It's a male dominated
Mm.
industry.
Mm.
And, it's not common to see someone like me.
So interesting that it's a male dominated industry where, I mean, we encounter so many creative women every day. That's interesting. Well, we're glad that you have broken in and you're flying high in that vein. Can you tell us what it's been like, being an entrepreneur? What lessons has being an entrepreneur taught you?
You got to eat what you kill.
Mhm.
And every day you
Mm.
gotta hunt.
Mm.
There's not one, unless you're working, but I always try to keep a wandering eye for
Mm.
work,
Mm.
because I wanna fill my calendar, I wanna be booked and busy. I wanna keep my website updated because when I ask people how they find me, 90% of the time it's through my website.
And your
So
website is
Phenomenal.
absolutely gorgeous.
thanks, and I have to update it, and that's the other thing, you always have to constantly
Mhm.
update it, networking, showing people who you are. And I always like to socialize with other entrepreneurs because we
Mm.
both are struggling
Mhm.
with the same things. And especially if it was up to me, I would sit here all day and have no interaction. And I need to have play
Push
dates.
yourself.
I need to have self-care because
Yeah,
truth be told, I haven't even done a pedicure in 6 months plus.
Okay.
that's all
I
right.
haven't
We'll
done a
get to that.
massage.
We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
like, I don't prioritize me,
Mm.
and as an entrepreneur, like, I love what I do, and I do what I love. So, I would do this nonstop without a break, and there's good and bad to that, but, there's the financial side, there's a lot to learn there
Mm.
from hiring a tax person, a bookkeeper,
Yeah.
business accounts, you know, doing your annual filings to grant, applying. There's a lot
A
to
lot.
learn.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and
So
nobody
can
taught
we
me.
Mhm.
can we switch a little bit and can you talk about your creative process? So how do you create a visual narrative?
So funny. I like to connect. So there's different types of clients that I have. There's like people who reach out to me for like last week. We're 30 years of marriage and we want to tell the world.
Mm.
And so this narrative is going to be different. This could be a half day adventure and they want me to plan it.
Wow.
So it starts with a mood board. Okay, let me hear your story. I want to hear your evolution, your genesis, who you are, how you grew up, how you met your wife, how you guys are as a couple. I want to understand that interaction that you have and, what you love to do. And same with like my business clients, what's the vision do you have? How do you want people to see you online? Is this like a big reveal? Is this a refresh? Is this a coming out? Like you want people to see you in a different light? It all starts with a conversation. And I would tell people that it's a relationship with me. Like it doesn't end. It doesn't end. We're going to be not only business partners, but we're going to be friends, So if you need me for anything, a conversation just to say, "Hey, I'm in town." I want it to be like that. I just don't want it to end. But it starts with a conversation, then I create it like a mood board. I will put together sample poses of, how you want to be seen. And, I always want to take you out of your comfort zone as well. So, but I wouldn't stage that. That's something I would do on the fly just to
Mhm.
give you confidence. And a lot of times when I shoot people, I kind of feel like I'm shooting myself too. Like,
Hmm,
even though your personality is different to mine, there's a little bit of Nina in those shots that you see of, people. And then
that's the
obviously
secret sauce, I would argue.
mhm, mhm. And then I also obviously put together a proposal to be for a high-end client. They wanna see, like, past work, they wanna see my capability statement, what I've done, who my past clients were, the inspiration behind my work. So there's different categories of how my creative process will the workflow of it.
Evolve. Mhm.
And, when I'm bidding on work too, that's different. They just wanna see your portfolio, you give a little pitch, and then I have cold pitches too, like, I just sent 20 out last week. This is what I do. I see you're having conferences coming up in May. I'd love to be part of that. And,
Nice.
that this is the value I would add. So as an entrepreneur, as a creative, these are the things you have to do on a weekly basis in order to thrive and grow.
Mm.
And I didn't know that in the beginning. I would sit back and wait for those, "Hi, I found you on the internet." And, I got comfortable, and that's what you cannot be, is comfortable ever.
Bless.
Yeah.
Good lessons. Wow, good lessons. Well, and then you have people like us who, from my understanding, Georgetown found you because they were seeking, knowing that we were women of color, a photographer who could actually do a good job with, 5 women. And then you get this blank slate that we're like, "Huh, we don't know. I don't know." And you just created this magic and made us feel literally like just majestic. And it was such a beautiful experience. So clearly, regardless of what people tell you, if they come in with a vision, then it sounds like you can run with it. But if you come in like us with blindfolders on,
Yeah.
then you can create from that as well. So
It's an
what a gift
energy
you
thing
have.
too. Yeah, it's an energy thing. It's a third eye thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody that I shot there's probably a handful of people I've shot that I didn't have a connection with, but I had to do the work. But it doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel like if I feel that energy as part of the vetting process as we're talking, then
Mm-hmm.
or even email, then I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I would
I was going to ask about that. Okay.
Yes.
That's good to
Yeah.
know.
Sometimes I'll give them there's one coming up that I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, but they're a little on the needy side,
I can't
but we'll
imagine.
see. We'll see.
So what do you wish that people understood about photography?
Oh, one thing, like, I hate it when people say, "Oh, you just take pictures."
Mm.
Oh,
Like,
it is more than a photo. So tell me, what does that bring up for you?
I get angry. Like, I put people in their place one time to say, "No, it's not like I just show up and take
Right.
pictures."
Yeah.
You have to have not only the technical skill and the creative mind, but it's a process. And it's like, especially if you're working a big corporate shoot, if you're working a huge event, there is a production team. Like, you could be one of many, and your role is crucial like everybody else's. And if
Mhm.
you drop the ball, then there's hell's gonna break loose. Like,
Mhm.
people don't understand the behind the scenes that goes on to prepping for an event. It could be just the paperwork, the legalities involved. It could be a copyright thing where you have to hand over your soul. You can't post those pictures on social media. So sometimes, people don't realize the work I've done, but it's because I can't post it, or I can't post it until they post it.
Mhm.
And then even then, sometimes I have to get permission to
Mhm.
eat, and they'll allow me X amount of photos to publish, get approved. But yeah, I put people in a place right away. Or I remember one girlfriend telling me that, and then when she came to visit me and I was working, and then she looked at what I was doing and she's like, "Oh my God, and you're editing the photos?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is
It's
what we
it's
call
a job. I
post-production."
mean, it's a career. It's
Rare.
not just with your
A hobby.
Instamatic and boom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not at all.
Nice.
Not at all. And, I call it the creative burnout because, at least for me that I could speak of, I put my heart and soul into everything. So by the time it's done, I'm literally winded
Yeah.
and I fall out, especially if I'm working like a whole week in production. Like, I'm offline for at least 3 days
Yeah, good for
because
you.
I can't function. It's
And
like I'm
how
in
do
a
you
coma.
recharge? So once you're offline, what do you do to,
Sleep. Sleep.
Good.
sleep is important.
Restorative sleep, that's very important. Well, what about, so recharging, yes, but what about, because this is your passion and what you've always in creative experience, but it's a business and you're doing it over and over and over again. How do you continue to maintain that sense of wonder in what you're doing?
Ooh. So this is my week of my sense of wonder. So I just came off a week of literally nonstop.
Mm.
And now I don't have any work this week. Hold on,
Today's Monday.
It's Monday. So I don't have anything booked right now for this week.
Mhm.
But I need that. I need to reset because I am not going to be able to be of service to the next person if I keep going, going, going.
Mhm.
And creatively, I have nothing to give. Like, cup would be half full
Yeah.
forever. And I learned that 2 years ago that I'm not a machine.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I have to give myself that time to recover. And usually after a shoot, like I have to retouch the photos anyway. So that's part of the reset process. Just
Okay.
doing it with music in the background or just in between everything else. And then hunting for more work. So yeah, I have
What
to.
music are you listening to now, as far as when you retouch your photos to kind of set the mood? Just, I'm a music person.
I was listening to Doechii recently.
Oh, she's so amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see
Yeah.
her Paris debut is what I'm gonna call it? Oh
You
my
sent me
God.
that picture, the gold.
Yes. I never knew her, honestly,
A
until
100%.
recently.
Me too.
Yeah. And the song Anxiety, like I'm totally feeling.
Yes.
And before that, obviously I was on the Kendrick track because I never really,
Weren't we all?
yeah, I never really like the West Coast thing for me was,
I'm
I
not gonna
never
be
feel
offended by that, given that I'm
She's
from LA and love West Coast, so okay.
Right, but I'm feeling his album, at least this one in its entirety. So I've
Go
been
back
playing
and take a
that.
listen to some of his older stuff too, but
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah, I will. There's a few that I like, but I think because he's very deep,
Yeah.
when I'm trying to relax, it's just
too
not.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we just came off Carnival, so I'm listening to
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
Trinidad songs.
Yes. Can you tell us about the images that you have on the website are just absolutely
Hey,
amazing. I mean, makes you want to buy your
go.
ticket now. Yes. Yes, as it
Mhm.
should. I imagine that's the but can you tell us what that was like for you?
Yeah, so obviously it's cultural for me, and I have a vested interest in promoting Trinidad to everyone.
Mhm.
And that year, I decided normally I would have a costume on. We call it playing mass. But that year I decided, no, I'm going to be on the stage. I'm going to be taking photos. I'm behind the scenes, just doing photography. And, it's just catching the energy of people. I think this generation is caught up in taking pictures like this in like beautiful moments, such as being on the stage in Carnival. And so I have really literally had to tell them, like, jump up, like, be excited. You're on
Mm.
stage. Like, forget the selfie Instagram
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
you're on stage in
So
a big.
natural and authentic as opposed to
Yes.
staged and
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. And that's just me as a photographer. I'm not a
Mhm.
posy person. I'm all unless like we're staging a shot for like in your case a magazine.
Mhm.
But I like to catch people in their element,
Mhm.
showing off who they are, candid. I'm like waiting for the shot
For the
when I
moment.
see it. Yeah, when I see it. But Trinidad has a lot in terms of scenery, in terms of people, culture. So my goal is to explore that deeper now that I'm there
Yeah.
and really show off, what we have to offer and be of service to people who want to come and visit, whether it's carnival or not,
Mhm.
and offer those photography, walks, packages,
Mhm.
opportunities to see the country through my lens, or through a local lens, and just kind of a more of a personalized experience.
So now when you shot us, wait, I knew you as being from Miami. Are you in Trinidad now?
No, well, so I'm now officially a digital nomad. So what that
Ah.
means, and I officially sold my car last week in Florida when I was in Florida. So it's official. Like
Okay.
I'm a digital nomad, and what that
Congratulations.
means.
Yes, congratulations.
That's a leap.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's part of the deprogramming. We're taught to buy a house, have a
Yes.
physical address, and have this and that and the third. And now I've stripped myself on purpose of all of those things.
Mm.
And I'm a travel photographer. Like I go where the work is and I have a base. But to your question, Angela, like Miami is still my US base.
Mhm.
But I'm up and down the East Coast. So if I'm
Mhm.
not in Miami, I'm in DC or I'm in New York. So
Yeah.
those three cities is my area of focus. And
Mhm.
then when I'm not, I'm in Trinidad.
Wonderful. It sounds
Mhm.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I planned this, and I'm happy that it's rewarding when you plan something
Mhm.
and it just comes to fruition that you're living it. And that's what I would encourage everybody is, manifest, write it down, create that list. I hate to
Yeah.
say the proverbial list, but remind yourself, say it out loud, every day, like, this is what I want. Tell the universe, this is what I want.
And then do the work.
And then do the
Then
work.
do the work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So can we circle back because I love all things about you and definitely connected with you when you did our shoot. But I want to address this self-care thing
Yes.
and would like to know what your intentions are, what your plans. You just talked about your list. So it sounds like you don't have it exactly the way you'd like it to be, but tell us what it would look like if you were actually optimizing your self-care plan.
The oxymoron of it all is I've always self-cared. People know me to always be doing something from a facial to massage to sauna to my naturopath. I did that. Thank God I did that. I built that foundation just with my body because I think when I became an entrepreneur, like I had to scale down because you can't tap into your resources.
Mhm.
Well, at least this was my thinking. I prioritized my business. If I needed an AirPod versus getting my hair done, I chose this.
Mhm.
So, but then it got skewed to the point where, like I said, I don't take care of myself. My excuse is my hands are always in something, my camera, I'm on the ground. Like, I don't want to be messing up something I paid for. And I've done that and, ruined my nails. So I'm like, what's the point?
A good nail polish. I do my own nails,
I bought
couple
some
coats,
press-ons.
and you're done.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, that works too.
did.
Absolutely.
There you go.
They were cute. And I think I'm going to put so I have my own photo shoot in New York this week. So I'm going to put them on.
Nice.
And so that's another thing. I preach to everybody to get their photos done. And here I am. I haven't even done it.
Yeah.
Like formally for a while. And this guy he's a fellow Trini as well, but I liked how he shot me years ago. So I'm going up to New York to do that. That's part of my self-care. And
Nice.
then so I always, traveled and I've done stuff like the last 4 years.
Well, you've been
and
busy. You made
I've
the
been
leap.
busy.
You're a travel photographer now, so we can reset.
Yes.
And I carry a lot of equipment. I carry luggage and stuff.
do.
And every day I'm like, Nina, get a
Do you have
massage.
an assistant yet? Because when you shot us, you had all of this
Yourself.
equipment and you just came with it and left with it.
Yeah, that's the struggle. And I
Okay.
say that because, well, part of it is I'm OCD, like to do it all myself, type A. And part two, I think this generation, I've
Work
had
ethic.
assistants. The work ethic is different. And, I've had one girl who I thought was promising, but she was always late
Oh.
on arrival. And I'm just like, I can't do that. I can't support that anymore.
Mm-mm.
And I guess it's just, I was contemplating putting something on social media. Just, I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I need one.
Mm.
And my boyfriend's daughter does help me on, like, I have a shoot coming up at the end of April, and, she works. So if I have the date, and she'll plan to help me.
Mhm.
But actually, I had somebody reach out to me recently. They're a camera operator, but I was thinking, well, maybe I can really use him because he's asking me to be an intern or if I had any projects, but I can't do anything paid with him. But
Mm.
I'm gonna probably pick his brain a little bit. So it's
Do you
been
need
trial
somebody
and
with
error.
experience or no
Not
experience?
necessarily, because I
Okay.
could always mold that person, but I think a lot of it is just the generational work ethic, and
Yeah.
that's the battle
That
for
piece.
me.
Mm.
Yeah, because I mean, I was that eager person willing to do everything and paying my dues, and they
Yeah.
don't have that paying my dues mentality.
Yeah.
The right person is out there for you, and there may be an internal candidate that
Perhaps.
Angela may be able to refer, or we'll talk about that offline.
Offline.
Yes, I'm willing to hear what you have to offer.
I feel like you will be blessed. I think you'll find exactly who you need, though. But
Nice. But the plan is to get a massage
good.
when I get back to Florida, or even when I go up to New York, or get acupuncture. I love acupuncture.
I like
Mm.
acupuncture too.
Never done it.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I love that. And go back to my girl in DC for the facial. She's done so I had like bad cystic acne, hormonal acne as an adult, never as a child.
Mhm.
And she rescued me.
Mm.
Rescued me. Like, she is the only person who really touched my face for, I would say, over 20 years, probably 30 now. And then my naturopath as well in DC, he
Mm.
saved me, not realizing I wasn't going to the bathroom. Oh, this is another TMI, but I wasn't regular.
We're
And
doctors, so you're good.
yeah, I wasn't regular. And he just opened up my world
Regimen.
to how to eat and just my blood type and managing
Food is your
how I
medicine.
eat.
Food is your medicine.
Food is my medicine. So, and even when I travel, understanding, because I work long hours and they feed you on set and stuff, but it's not always the healthiest at times. So I really try to buy groceries and cook, opposed to eating out a lot. Although last 2 weeks wasn't that, and that's not the norm, but it wasn't that. But I try to like make sure I get my wheatgrass, or just make sure I always take vitamins, and that's part of my self-care regimen, because in order for me to think clearly and shoot people, like, I need to be nourished.
Beautiful. I love it.
Mhm.
Well, you are
Mhm.
on such a great path. I'm glad to hear that you already have at least the knowledge of taking care of yourself well. I just want to make sure you're continuing to do that, because you're putting out so much beautiful work into the world, making sure you're taking care of yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah. You have to even know your health condition, right? Like, 'cause, like, I became
assessment.
anemic as
Mhm.
like, early 20s, and so even now, I haven't had the need to take iron so much, but I guess because 'cause I've balanced all my nutrients. But, definitely the bees are helpful just for clarity, focus, and energy.
Yeah.
Just knowing what foods work well with me while I'm working, and, don't give me that fog or
Yes.
sleepy fog, just staying away from, and I don't eat pasta really, but if I need carbs, like, I'll gravitate to brown rice, just
A
those kind
healthy
of things.
carb.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good. Yeah.
Sweet
Great.
potatoes, yeah,
Cool.
just
So Nina Babel, travel
Babel.
photographer.
Babel.
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 Oh my
Babel.
God.
Babe. Okay. Babel.
Babe
Sorry.
with an L, that's what I tell
Good.
people.
Whoa.
It's okay.
Fix that.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
made us feel so comfortable. It was just Nina. So
I'm
Yeah.
used to it,
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We thank you for sharing your story with our listeners here at Boss Leap. Could you tell us how people can find you? What social media channels?
Sure. So LinkedIn would just be my first and last name, Nina, Nina, and Babel, Babe with an L. That's how you would find me professionally. Instagram, I changed my handle to Niba, Niba, which is the first two initials of my first and last name,
Mm-hmm.
Media Official. That's on Instagram. And I've used that. So if you go on TikTok, if you go on Threads, it's my first and last. No, it's the same on Threads. Sorry to confuse everybody, but it's Niba Media. That's how you'll find me on any kind of social media. Niba Media Official. Yeah. I
Perfect.
might
And
be
we'll put it
changing
in
it
our
again.
show notes, so it'll all be correct. So
Yeah, and I could
Uh,
send you the link to everything so you have it too
okay.
with my
That
headshot
that would be great.
Wow.
and my website in case anybody wants to look at my work.
It's beautiful. I encourage
Yeah.
everyone to look, and if you need services, please,
Yep. She's the one.
Nina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. It's wonderful, a pleasure. We were so looking forward to having you and look forward to working with you in the future. So,
Love
um,
to.
yeah. Until we
Yeah.
meet again, though, may you be well, Nina.
You too, guys. Have a great week ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Sylvia, that was an amazing interview with Miss Nina Babel, our digital nomad, ultimate creative photographer. What a beautiful story that she had to share. And
She's fantastic.
she was. I remember when we first met her, and just what she said. She gets to know you, but she's also very open, so you were able to get to know her. And I just remember being a mother, hearing her story and how some of what she shared in that she kind of felt like she had to do one thing as a career path, but then more recently found, that she could actually potentially, make a career out of what she was really passionate about. And I just remember being her champion or a cheerleader from that moment. So, I mean, just from when she took our pictures to what she's done now, just absolutely amazing. So much that I've taken from the interview. I guess I'll let you go first. Tell me what your takeaways are. What are your pearls? And then I'll tell you what I think.
I love how she shared that she had people along the way that gave her a little nudge or a push or said that, hey, you can do this.
Yes.
That is really important. And I know as I look back on my own career journey, definitely there were people who always encouraged me. Dr. Carlton Louis said to me when I was at Berkeley, he's like, you can do this. You can go to medical school. You can be a doctor. And that meant the world to me.
Mhm.
But when listening to Nina, I really en- enjoyed hearing her story when she talked about where there's death,
Yeah.
there's birth,
Yeah.
and just knowing that there is an opportunity to move, sort of rising above from the ashes. I
Mhm.
think that's really an important thing for us to all to hang on to.
Mhm.
And I think my favorite expression was "you cry once." So really investing in whatever equipment you need or whatever it is. So you buy the appropriate one, irrespective of cost or perhaps maybe what you can afford, but you cry once and then you have it moving forward. What were your take homes?
So interesting. We have a lot of the same ones. That death can be the birth of something new. And I'm taking that to mean kind of the letting go of, part of what has defined my career and taking it into something, new. And then the significance of one person. So I'll share my story in terms of I was always kind of given the license to believe that I could do anything, right? And then I've shared my story from college to medical school. It was a little bit jaded and thinking, I don't know if I want to do this 8 years. And it was a little bit rough, initially trying to apply and started in, what pharmaceutical sales. I'm like, this is a good job. I like it and blah, blah, blah. And you could move up and had this kind of career path looking ahead. And I was, dating Carl, my husband, and I don't remember where we were. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I do remember the part of the conversation was like, isn't medicine what you really want to do? And it's that person that knows you.
So Nina's boyfriend saying to
Yeah.
her,
Oh, I felt
Carl,
that.
so my take home is
Yes.
have the right partner. Have someone that's in your corner that's going to support you.
Yeah. And sometimes may see things a little clearer than you do.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And then the last part as an entrepreneur is that eat what you killed, right? So I don't know if everybody understands that terminology but I do in medicine, because there are models of practice where essentially, your take home is going to be based on how many patients you see, how many surgeries you do, how many
Fee for
deliveries you do,
service.
fee for service. And so if you want to make a living, you've got to work. So I mean, that's just kind of the resounding message that we get in all of these, is that no matter what you're doing, if you find what you're passionate about, it's still not necessarily, an easy course. You have to work and put in the work. But if you're doing something that you love, that you're passionate about, it doesn't necessarily feel so cumbersome to get the hours in. So
Definitely. And make sure that you tap into mentors, or as Nina called them, angels, people that surround you that say, hey, I see something in you, and learn from them. It may only be kind of one sitting, or it may be a much more extended interaction. But we need people. It is the connection. It is the community that helps us get to make that leap to the next level.
Well said, my dear. Well said, my friend. And I think we can leave it at that. I think pretty much Nina dropped the mic when she finished, and we're just going to go with that and soar this week on all those pearls that she dropped. So I am excited for what's to come and with Boss Sleep. But until we meet again, may you be well.
And we want to thank all of our listeners. Please make sure that you subscribe, you like, you listen, you share. And if you have any ideas for us, please drop us a line at bosssleeppodcast@gmail.com, or go to our website, bosssleeppodcast.com.
Absolutely.
Until
We'd love
next
to hear
time,
from you. Yep.
may you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Sleep. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bosssleeppodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. It's the legal language. And you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.